Namaskar. We are back with Elmer Yuen, and this time we are going to talk about COVID, what is happening to those people who are suffering from COVID inside China, and whether COVID is an error, a mistake somehow that escaped from the Wuhan lab, and whether it has now started having more variants. Are these variants actually things that are just evolving, or are these being weaponized? We don't know the answer to this today, but we will get some insights to this, because one thing, viewers, you will agree with me when I say this, is listening to Elmer gives you a 360-degree perspective about all things China related. I hope you will agree with me at the end of this conversation that Elmer has a very unique capability to look at what is happening in and outside of China and how the Chinese mind plots about how to become the dominant power in the world. So whether it started out that way, China wanted to spread a virus out there and get domination, or whether this became like an after product or the accidental leak, they opened their eyes to a possibility that you cannot win the West with conventional warfare, but perhaps you can use germ warfare to defeat the West. So we don't know the answer to this. We don't even know if this is true or not. We are just making some surmises based on the data that we have looked at as far as the COVID virus is concerned. So first off, Elmer, thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us. First question I have for you, sir, is COVID broke out from Wuhan. Initially, they cordoned off the city, right? And then they somehow got it under control, and they forbade anyone from within that area to leave for the other parts of China. They didn't allow anyone to come inside either. But they allowed every foreigner who wanted to leave, they allowed them to go. Why could they have not quarantined the foreigners until they had tested negative and then allowed them to leave? They didn't do that. So is there something here? I'm trying to connect the dots here, that China by say January 2020 knew that they could essentially weaponize the COVID. Now there is a history behind this, Elmer. I don't know if you've read. There is an author called Gore Vidal, Gorevidal. This guy wrote a book called Kalki, Kalki. Now, I don't know how much Hinduism you know, but in Hinduism, we believe that God takes what is called as an avatar. That is really the meaning of avatar. It is God takes a human form and comes and sets right what is not right about the world. So far we believe that he has taken 9 incarnations. The 10th one is called Kalki, Kalki. So Gore Vidal took this Hinduism concept and came up with this book, where what happens is, this is an American fighter pilot who returns from Vietnam, and he's also a scientist. He figures out that there is a way to transmit. He's a pilot, so he can transmit this, just like you spray pesticides on the population, that he can transmit this particular germ that will make the world impotent. So what he goes about doing is, there's a movie called Moonraker by James Bond. I'm sorry I'm taking a long time to describe all this.
Go ahead, please.
Moonraker. In Moonraker, the villain actually picks what he calls as the perfect set of people for procreation, and he wants to take them outside of Earth, destroy the Earth, put it, start over again, but this time with a perfect species of human beings. So he goes through the same exercise. I will not reveal the ending for you on Kalki, but this germ warfare was already thought of 40-50 years ago. So Elmer, just walk us through what was in your opinion, did you think that by Jan 2020 Xi Jinping and CCP knew that they could weaponize COVID?
Sorry, again, I have to interrupt your line of question by giving you some background. Um, during the Second World War, the Japanese were developing chemical warfare or maybe biochemical anthrax in the Manchuria, in the northeast part of China, and they were testing on people. It's in the record. You can Google that. It's no problem. So and now, of course, the Japanese are apologizing and reparation, this and that. But that laboratory was moved from Manchuria down to Guangzhou. All right. So they continue to develop such kind of weapon. They never promised the world, even though they signed something in '82 or something, not to develop a biochemical weapon. But they do, they continue. You know, communism. Signing means nothing, right? So anyway, that lab moved to Guangzhou, and this is now we know that the SARS back in 2003,
Right.
in fact, again, they say it came from animal, because Chinese love to eat this wild animal. It's not true. It was escaped from that lab in Guangzhou in around 2003, and that spread to Hong Kong and many places. But luckily, only the Canadian Chinese got infected. India, nothing serious, and Hong Kong very serious. Hong Kong and Japan never really was okay. Luckily, they didn't get infected. So the SARS, but it did went all the way to Beijing, and Beijing was in trouble. So they had some really bad experience. Everybody was caught by surprise. And Hong Kong, it became very serious, the SARS. Anyway, China, after the experience in Beijing, huge problem. They had to build lots of factory, a lot of hospital, and so on. But it was huge damage. And then Wang Qishan, at that time, was called from Hainan Island. He was the head of Hainan to really to how to separate part of Beijing in order to stop the infection from crossover. So it was very successful. Finally, the SARS was under control and it disappeared. And China have decided, wow, this stuff is bad, but it's also good because it's bad because it's an infectious disease, all right, which can wipe out China. But it's also good because it can wipe out enemies too. It could be used as a weapon. So they went to France. France is very, very famous for such kind of chemistry, right? Madame Curie and biology. They are very good at it. So they asked the French to have a joint venture to build a P4 lab designed by the French in Wuhan, joint venture with China to study. The reason was to study the virus and to develop vaccine and to make sure in the future, if such thing come along, they can contain it or they can control it. That was the idea in 2005. They reached an agreement, they signed an agreement with the French to build such a thing. So the French, in the beginning, the French were very skeptical. So at that time, the prime minister, not the president of France, decided to promote it. Of course, the guy was motivated, all right, to do it, the Chinese way. And so finally, they decided to go ahead with it. So they start building it and spend uh, uh, 50 billion RMB just on the hardware, 50 billion RMB, all right, to build this whole facility. Not so big. And they built 2 floors, one floor for commercial use, like what they told the world, and another floor exactly the same. The lab, they built 2 labs, another lab for the military downstairs, underground. And they never allowed the French to visit. They forgot about what they signed with the French, and the French never visited the Wuhan lab.
How many
Right,
years
the
were
P.
there, French?
Oh, it was finished in 2017. It was finished in
11
2001,
years. Okay.
completely finished, installed, and start working. So they start developing. They start catching all these viruses from bats in the southwest of China, and also in the eastern part of China. They collect a lot of samples, hundreds, if not thousands of samples. These coronavirus samples, and They forget about the French. The French have a very good system to control the vaccine, the virus from spreading. But they only say, oh, they say we can do it. We are communists. We are Chinese. We are smart. We are as smart as the French. I think your people say the same thing, right? They all say the same thing. We are as smart as the Westerners.
Right, right.
We are no different. Sometimes we are cleverer. We are better. But that's the same thing, that you use in India and we use in China.
Right,
The
right.
bottom line is it was very sloppish. And the American, actually, there was a visit from the U.S. consulate on the upper floor, and they say it's very poorly managed. The visit was in 2017, and they wrote a report. The U.S. Consulate attaché is probably in charge of commercial, wrote a report, says very, very poorly run, never up to the global standard. So then we come forward to 2019. Hong Kong has these huge demonstrations. And China was thinking, they ran out of ways, all right, because the international media is spotlight on Hong Kong. They couldn't do anything. They did
Right.
everything. They actually were beating up the kids, murder, and then thousands of them were actually smuggled over to China and never disappeared. We still call them the missing ones. In 2019, you saw this demonstration. But even that's not going to work because you can do away with a few thousand. But what happened to the 2 million people on the street? Right? So they backed down. But at that time, they were planning to use that, right? During the middle of 2009. And they were actually, and
You mean
probably
2019?
19, sorry.
Okay,
They
yeah.
were accelerating the program in 2019 in Wuhan, right? And this is the news coming out. And at that time, there was already a leak. Middle of 2019, there was a leak. So nowadays, you're going to see report. The Republican report just came out yesterday, talking about September or August. But I'm telling you, August they have some discovery. Doesn't mean the leak was in August. Could be earlier. All right. And Italy, they found out they took out some August 2019 sample of tuberculosis testing of 2,000 people, and they found out there are quite a few hundred people already had it in August of 2019. They took out some old tuberculosis samples, all right, and then found out. So the leak actually occurred in the middle of 2019. And we believe that's accidental. They speed up the country, and people from the lab technicians were careless, and they didn't follow the French procedure because the French never came to train them. So it started leaking. And according to the report, the hospital activity near Wuhan was building up already, all right, from the middle of 2019. And then it became and then they were doing a rehearsal at the Wuhan International Airport. At the international arrival and departure area, they were doing a coronavirus rehearsal. A rehearsal, you call it it's like a drill on in case the virus leak. It's a public record. It's not it's not a rumor or information. It's a public record because they have to notify all these parties to join that drill, all right, in September, and in October is the military Olympics held in Wuhan by the global military athletes, all right, worldwide, and at that time, many countries' athletes were infected and had to go to a hospital. But they didn't know what it is. They thought it's a virus, all right? We have a big virus. And those people are strong as an ox. They don't die, all right? Easily they recover because, athletes,
Right,
plenty
right,
of
right.
oxygen. They may have bad performance at the Olympic, at the athletic meet, but nobody really died. And nobody knew what it is. A flu is a flu, and China is full of flus, right? So they went home. That was in October. And so the leak already happened and start to spread little by little. And it became very serious in November and more serious in December. And now coming to your point, all right. At that time, Nobody dared to lock down a city. Wuhan is the size of Chicago in terms of economic activities. It's as industrialized. Wuhan is the most industrialized city in the middle of China. Their auto industry is the biggest in the world, probably. Auto industry or any parts, components for cars, it's the biggest in the world. Everything they do because the market, and they export auto parts all over the world. All right, nobody can imagine shut down Wuhan, but it was so serious. So Donald Trump got wind, so he shut down all the 4 American airlines flying to Wuhan, flying to Wuhan. So we're talking about United American Delta and one of them, whatever. He shut it down, but the Chinese never shut down their airlines. They are not only they never shut down, they never tell people that there's such a problem. All right, they call up Donald Trump, 2nd of January, told them, "Oh, we have a virus, we have infection, but it's controllable and it's curable." That's what he called. He picked up the phone, called Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was taken. So he sent a plane load of remdesivir, the medicine. Said, "You go ahead and test this. This may work on that." So it's for plane load, and also all the ventilators, the glove and mask. Out of good heart, Donald Trump said, "God, you guys let me know such a bad thing is happening. I'm going to reward you." So he chartered 2 planes and sent them over there, all right, to China. So, so, but at that time, lots of people leaving Wuhan because they have Chinese New Year holiday coming up, end of January. And if there's no American plane, they can go by any other plane via any other countries or cities. All right, we Hong Kong, we are a big hub for transferring, right? And there's a lot of cheap ticket from Hong Kong, right? People will fly to Hong Kong and change plane and then fly to anywhere in the world. They fly to Hong Kong, to Shanghai, to Beijing, to Tokyo, to Seoul, to Taipei, and so on. So Singapore, a lot of hubs. So the American shutdown of the 4 airliners is nothing. It's nothing. So maybe only block less than 10%. And when people want to leave, they don't care. If they don't fly US airline, they fly another airline. There are plenty of European airlines. You can go to Europe, go to Italy, go to London, go to Istanbul, and then change plane to US, or go to any other cities in Europe. So it was nothing. There was basically zero control until almost end of March, when they announced, when finally WHO, they knew this, what is his name? Tedros. He cannot
Yeah.
hold on anymore. So finally he announced, how much delay? 4 months of delay. The rule is 24 hours. If you have a virus, infectious virus, you have to inform the world in 24 hours. It took them 4 months. And Donald Trump, he was very happy with the trade deal he signed on the 15th of January. He was totally unaware of how serious the situation is.
Didn't they put a
He,
last minute clause that the treaty would be not applicable if there was an act of God?
could be, could be. So anyway, the problem is it's out of control by March. And the worst thing is the America, which is really the leadership in the Western world, right? They have not done anything to improve their testing capability. The first thing is you have to test and separate the good guys from the bad guys, right? Whoever is contaminated, you have to separate them and quarantine them. But if you cannot test, means you have no action, zero action until you have massive tests ready. It wasn't until April of last year that the test was catching up. Not doesn't meet the demand. Then suddenly Donald Trump realized how serious it is. Once you have test, then you have quantity. Otherwise, you have no quantity at concept. Then they start developing the vaccine and everything. So it was really 5 months behind China, or 6 months behind China. And you can even say 8 months behind China. So China was totally prepared on this thing, all right? They know it's damaging. So they're prepared. They know how to block off like a city. They basically lock you in. If you have no very good reason to leave your home, they don't allow you to come out at all. You have to apply to leave your home. So then, of course, it cuts back on the infectious transmission. You want to you want to leave home, you have to get permission. You have to go from one street to the next street, you have to get permission. This is happening now today in Nanjing and Beijing right now because of the Delta spread. It's happening now. They control street by street, building by building. That's how they control, and they control door by door. That's why they are so successful. But then the first Wuhan outbreak was huge. They have the number they reported was 2 zeros less, all right? Because they want to show the world they are able to control it. They are so good at it. And also they've been using vaccine very early on. Very early on. The world doesn't even know. And they have their vaccine and they have their cure. They not only they have vaccine, they have their cure. So once you are slightly infected, they give you the cure, and then you can almost recover very quickly. It's only those people who are infected for a long time, and then became very serious. So they were totally prepared. But even they were not that prepared for the Wuhan initially, and then they put everything into action. They locked down the entire country. So Wuhan, very serious. Later on, they were first one to manage to have this whole thing under control. All right. So let's give credit. But this is not because they have a better system, but because they developed the weapon. It's a weapon program. They know how to protect their own people or their own soldiers. They know how to heal, what medicine to take. The West was caught totally by surprise. Testing was a big problem, and then the Western, because of this freedom, China knew everybody wants freedom. You will never be quarantined. They cannot lock down a city. All right, they can only say you don't go to a restaurant. But people are meeting at home. They are meeting in so many social areas. All right, which you cannot find out. So they know the world is not prepared. So that's why we experience 4 million people dying, dead, and then 200 million people infected. This is and it's not over yet. All right. And now the news is this is one of the bioweapon program, this coronavirus. They have several, and there are 40 such P4 labs. They copy, duplicate them all over China, P3, P4 labs in China. There's no difference. In China, P3, P4 is about the same because they're poorly managed. In terms of health, they're not that much different. It's just by name, all right? Maybe they give more important people or important scientists to work in the P4 instead of P3. It's just grading. But to them, it's the same thing. So more than 40, and they are building new ones. They are building 10 or 20 new ones a year. So it's not a joke. So I asked my expert friends virologists from Walter Reed Hospital in Washington. I said, if they can develop one, they can develop many. Yes, they said certainly. And they can change. They can change from example to Delta manually. You can ask the scientists. You Indians are very good scientists. They can speed up the change. They say if I know the vaccine, I can overcome the vaccine in a matter of few months. I can develop a virus that can
Defeat the vaccine. Yeah.
defeat the vaccine in a matter of few months. This is not from me. You can ask all the scientists. And people are so afraid of this thing, they forgot to ask. And they are not only one kind. They can develop many. If they can develop one kind, they can develop many kinds. The Chinese communist mentality. They are in war with the world. They want to dominate the world. They consider everybody else is an enemy. So there's no reason for them to give up the bioweapon for vaccines. We are peace people. You India, you live in peace. We Hong Kong people, people in the States, they never thought of other people as is actually fighting a secret war against them. So they are not aware of that, totally unprepared. But the most important thing about China is you have to understand This is really a criminal organization. Everything they want global domination, not through competition, not through this what Biden is calling a strategic competition. This is some kind of joke. People want to get rid of you. You are trying to compete with them. I mean, it's like running the Olympics. They're stabbing a knife behind you, and you are calling this competition strategic competition. I don't understand. This whole thing is a joke. All right, the West is still calling competition and still want to do business with them, want to sell product to them and make money, and want to buy their cheap product and make money again. They are fighting a war with you for 100 years. That's the beginning of Chinese Communist Party. For they are 100 years old. They've been treating you guys and India, America, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan. We are all enemies, and we are treating them as they are our business partner. Are you joking? And now Biden is saying a little more serious. We are competitors. Now, so many people have died. I know there are a lot of people died and infected, and your economy is in ruin by this coronavirus. It's the government's responsibility to doubt, to suspect there's something fishy, correct? You cannot simply say that, oh, China is a nation, we are also a nation. They are in the United Nations, we have to treat them like innocent, we have to assume they're innocent. This is such a stupid, not only wrong, it's a stupid approach, including Indian government, including US government. They say, oh, we cannot based on a conspiracy. It is so wrong. You have to read the Chinese Communist history, how many crimes they have done. Right? It's lack of study. Such people, they can not only do it, they can repeat it, and they can make it worse. Right? Once you have such record, you do. If you look at Hong Kong, you know what kind of government or what kind of Chinese party, political party it is. You have to use that as your base to judge and to investigate. You cannot say, most people, I came to the Washington a year ago. People said, no, you are conspiracy theory, this and that. I said, at that time, already 150 person died. People died. And you are still doing nothing? You remember? And even today, they care about their reputation. They say, if I guess wrong, I will lose my reputation. All right? I will lose my credibility. This is how selfish and stupid these political leaders. I'm not only talking about United States. I'm talking about India. I'm talking about most of the world, especially countries like Germany, who love to do business. They let doing business twist their judgment. All right, damage. It's the responsibility of a government, of any government, today after such chaos in health, people dying, and the economy, not to suspect the Delta is also a Chinese product. It's wrong. It's wrong not to doubt and not to investigate. And if more people die, it's not even wrong to go ahead and take out all those P4 labs because they were suspicious. If you see a murderer, killing people, all right, and you don't have evidence and keep on killing, sometimes you have to eliminate them. You cannot just say, "Wait, oh, I need evidence. I need evidence." Look how many millions of Jews died. You have evidence? Very little. Of course, you have a whole mountain of body and bones. But do you have evidence they actually turned on the poison gas? You don't. You never will. All right, it's history. But then, even by the damn time you have evidence, the people have already died. We have the responsibility to protect people. We need to take out, once we understand all these viruses came from these labs, and the Chinese are not willing to let you examine the labs, and they don't admit it, and they keep on working on the labs. You need to basically use your missiles or drones to take them out. Maybe there are 40 or 50 of them. They should be destroyed. You're afraid to touch upon a nuclear war. You guys have to figure out. The taxpayer pay you so much money. You have to figure out how to stop it. All right. And this is what I'm warning the world. One day, I hope you can arrange for me to be in India. I want to talk to your
Absolutely.
parliamentary. I want to
Absolutely.
talk to your parliament and tell people you have to label, you have to designate the CCP as a criminal organization. Then you start understanding how to deal with them. All right? There is no
Absolutely.
such
Yeah.
thing. You look at Wang Ai, the foreign minister of China. Behind him, there's the party. There's this Yang behind him. Every one of them who is a government official, in fact, as a party official, telling him what to do. It's the parties that's running this whole big land of China, and somebody has to do something. I I have to ask people to take action, not to talk and investigate anymore. It's time to take action because this Delta, you never know, and the next one could be Lambda. Who knows how bad it is? And if you still sit down and do action, they are killing your economy. They are killing your people. All right, and they are killing your freedom. They are using this thing to deprive us of our freedom to travel, freedom to work, freedom to even go to school. That's how bad it is. And if we don't strike now, I don't know how long you want to wait. We want to wait until we are weak, so weak that the Chinese don't can come and walk all over us. This is our problem. Let me tell you, this is how frustrated I am. Invite me. I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to come to India,
Absolutely.
to Australia,
Yeah.
and we need to gang up and we need to take action. Not only waiting for Biden. Biden is half asleep.
True indeed,
Sorry.
and we no. I think you made a point, Elmer, and I'm going to do everything in my power to try and get you there. In fact, I'll accompany you. So
Sure.
this is
Thank
my
you.
word to you. This is important, too important a thing to just let things drift. So, but we right now India is closed. You cannot travel into
I know.
India.
No, if you
Uh,
have a government, if you have a special reason, they let you in.
yes. So let me try and see how best I can move this thing forward.
Thank you.
And but these videos are seen by many people in the Prime Minister's office, which is the
Yes,
central decision-making body. So they do listen to us. They do us understand because we don't give biased news everywhere. Every interview that PGurus puts out has some value. There's an intellectual value that goes with it. So we'll I'm sure something is going to come. And thank you very much, Elmer. And we'll be again seeing you very soon. Namaskar.
thank you for your interview. Thank you again, Suri. Thank you.